we take a pretty strong view on this particular issue, and if I can just encapsulate it.
Yeah, please.
7 million people are not unemployed because of labor legislation. We have a history where there were about 30 years of no employment being created while the population was growing. So let's just put that on the table. The past decade has been the first year of employment creation since the 1960s. So let's just, so the economy expanding is the absolute most important thing to absorb people. And that is why 7 million people are unemployed. Having said that, we have a dysfunctional labor market. And what's the character of that labor market that makes it dysfunctional? The first is we have too much conflict. We have too much conflict on the shop floor. Our dispute resolution institutions like the bargaining councils, the labor courts, the CCMA need to be strengthened so that cases are handled better and not handled so much on procedure but on content and substance. You ask any business person, I've met many business people who have left business and just said, I can't do this anymore. It's just too difficult. And again, that is because of conflict. It's not to say that in some places maybe wages are too high or they're too low, but that isn't the core reason why employers are finding it difficult to employ. So that's the one thing. The second thing is that labor market matching, in other words, the ability to move around the labor market and find a job is very difficult. People don't have the networks. They don't know where to look. Employers, because of the cultural differences, struggle to find people. And then finally, the ability to acquire skills in this economy is very difficult. How many people do you and I both know and all of the people you've got online would be connected, who say, what should I study? How do I get there? How do I find money? How do I live while I'm studying? How would I find a job afterwards? How many people do we all know that are like that? That is just the most common experience. If we want young people to start moving through the labor market, it's the most fundamental thing to be able to finish school with a standard, with a reasonable standard of capability, to find post-school training and to move into a job. That is something that is difficult for most people.
Very interesting. Let me just go back. You talk, for instance, about the last decade as being the decade in which there has been some sort of...
Well, besides the past couple of years, of course.
Yes, but job creation. But what has led to that? Has there been a change then in the conflict situation? Why have we been able to create, even if it is at a very small level, but why have we been able to do that?
No, listen, a lot of jobs were created over the past decade. The global economic crisis notwithstanding, and we have to understand why we lost 1 million jobs. That is something that we haven't explained yet. Listen, it's very simple. Post-apartheid dividend, opening up of a whole range of new activities, end of the police state. So, you have to remember that even informal activity was positively illegal. In other countries, it's just that people ignore it. In this country, if you remember, the cities were completely controlled and locked down. The police knew everything that you were doing. So post-94, there was a kind of blossoming of activity, liberalization of activity, regulatory reform that enabled new kinds of activity. Just think, for example, about the cell phones and that whole telecommunications market, which opened up with new regulations. We've opened up to trade. We've opened up to Africa.
The argument is that perhaps what we should be concentrating on, and Dr. Altman has got a different view, but let me say, if we concentrate on growing the economy, we can, to a certain extent, be able to deal with the joblessness in this economy.
We've argued that our unemployment is structural. It's related to how the economy set up was arranged. It's about our economy concentrating on extraction of minerals and mineral wealth in our country and exporting it to our former colonial headquarters in Europe and elsewhere in the world. And it's about us failing to build sufficient beneficiation activities out of our mineral industry. It's about us failing to industrialize sufficiently. It's about us failing to break that arrangement which led to the complete domination of our economy by the mining and the finance complex, and as well as the heavy chemicals. So all those things talk to our failure to create sufficient numbers of jobs in 2012
All right.
and for the past 18 years.
All right, but and I know, Dr. Altman, this is not your argument, but this is